Hey, how's it going, everybody? Um, Depending on how many people are on the chat tonight, I might have a longer video. If not, just fine. I'm gonna go pop up a video, and this video I just made. It's about the FBI and DHS versus what they consider extremist gamers. So we can pop up from there and see how this is going. And then if you'd like to talk, then you're free and welcome to.
Uncle Sam wants you to keep an eye out. Remember those recruitment posters? Yeah, Uncle Sam is back, and this time he's traded the battlefield for a battle pass. Turns out the FBI and DHS have been teaming up with gaming companies like Discord, Roblox, and even Reddit. Their mission? To monitor the vast and ever-expanding digital playgrounds of the gaming world. This partnership aims to identify and potentially neutralize what they perceive as extreme gamer behavior. But let's be honest, folks, extreme is a pretty subjective term, isn't it? One person's harmless trash talk is another person's verbal assault. Are we really okay with the government lurking in the digital shadows of our favorite games? Imagine the FBI busting down your door because you teabagged someone in Halo Infinite one too many times. Stay tuned, folks, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. So, what exactly constitutes extreme gamer behavior, you ask? Well, according to our friends in high places, it's a slippery slope that starts with, you guessed it, toxic behavior. We're talking hate speech, harassment, and all the other lovely things that make the internet such a charming place. The feds are worried about the potential for this digital vitriol to spill over into the real world. Think about it. Online gaming communities can be incredibly insular with their own unique cultures, languages, and, dare I say, ideologies. But here's the thing, is monitoring every online interaction really the best way to identify potential threats? It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack by burning down the entire farm. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for cracking down on genuine threats. But when we start labeling every gamer who drops an F-bomb as a potential domestic terrorist, we've gone too far. This kind of overreach not only infringes on our privacy, but it also creates a climate of fear and suspicion within the gaming community. Let's talk about privacy, shall we? When the government starts poking around in our online gaming habits, it's not just about knowing how many hours we wasted on Fortnite. Gaming platforms know what games we play, who we play with, and what we say. All of that data could end up in the hands of the FBI and DHS. It may sound like a Black Mirror episode, but reality is getting blurrier by the day. Now, you might be thinking, surely there's a plan, right? The FBI and DHS aren't just randomly snooping on gamers, are they? Well, that's where things get even more concerning, because according to the Government Accountability Office, Joe, the answer is a resounding not really. The GAO, the government's own watchdog, issued a report highlighting the lack of a cohesive strategy when it comes to monitoring extremist activity within online gaming communities. They basically said that the FBI and DHS are just kind of winging it. with no clear guidelines, oversight, or accountability. The GAO's report is a damning indictment of this haphazard approach to surveillance. It's clear that the government is more concerned with appearing to do something than actually doing something effective. This lack of strategy is not only ineffective, but it's also incredibly dangerous. Without clear guidelines and oversight, the potential for abuse is enormous. We're talking about government agencies with a long and storied history of overreach and misconduct being given free rein to monitor and infiltrate online communities. Section 5, Biden's Crusade, Digital Dragons and Domestic Threats. Okay, so we've got the FBI and DHS teaming up with gaming companies, a vague definition of extreme behavior, concerns about privacy, and a scathing report from the GAO. Where does the Biden administration fit into all of this? Since taking office, President Biden has made combating domestic extremism a top priority. The Biden administration has ramped up efforts to monitor online spaces, including gaming platforms for signs of extremist activity. And while they've been careful to avoid using terms like surveillance, the end result is essentially the same. Critics argue that this collaboration is often too cozy for comfort, with the government essentially outsourcing its surveillance activities to private companies. The Biden administration's focus on domestic extremism is understandable, given the events of recent years. But the question remains, are we striking the right balance between security and freedom? Because if we sacrifice our liberties in the name of safety, then the terrorists have already won.
So far, we've heard from the government, the GAO, and even yours truly.
But what about the people most affected by this issue? Gamers, game developers, and legal experts.
Gamers are understandably concerned about their privacy and the potential for government overreach.
Some acknowledge the need for moderation and security within online games.
Legal experts bring their own unique perspective to the debate.
The debate over government surveillance in gaming is complex and multifaceted. So here we are, folks, at the heart of the matter. Can we balance security with privacy and freedom in online gaming? Or are we doomed to a future where every click is monitored? It's a tough question, but I believe it's possible. We need a collaborative effort from gamers, developers, and the government. Let's create a gaming world that is both safe and free. Look, I get it, talking about government surveillance can be about as much fun as a lag spike during a boss fight. But the truth is, this is an issue that affects all of us who dare to venture into the digital realms of online gaming. It's time to stop pretending that it's not happening, or that it doesn't matter. We need to start having open and honest conversations about the role of government in online spaces. What are the limits of free speech in the digital age? How do we balance the need for security with the right to privacy? These are not easy questions, but they are questions that we must grapple with if we want to create a future where online gaming remains a safe and enjoyable experience for everyone. Talk to your friends, Hiroshima, clan members. Share your thoughts, your concerns, and your ideas. Because the more we talk about this issue, the more likely we are to find solutions that work for everyone. So, what does the future hold for freedom in the digital age of gaming? Will we succumb to a dystopian future where every keystroke is monitored and every avatar is a potential suspect? or will we rise to the challenge and create a gaming world that is both safe and free? The answer, my friends, is up to us. The choices we make today will determine the future of online gaming for generations to come. We can choose to be passive and allow the government to erode our freedoms in the name of security, or we can choose to be active, to speak out against overreach, and to demand a better way forward. The gaming community is a powerful force. We have the power to shape the digital landscape, to influence policy, and to create a better world for ourselves and for future generations of gamers. But only if we choose to wield that power. Let's not let the game end here. Let's level up, fight for our freedoms, and create a gaming world where everyone can feel safe, respected, and free to be themselves. Game on.
All right. Well, I see she just dropped off. I don't know what happened. Okay. Said that she's not connected now. Okay. All right.
Me out. Hello, how are you?
Hey, how you doing?
Surviving.
Right.
Hi, Mo.
Yeah.
It's just hot at the moment in England, so I'm suffering with the heat tonight. But I'm still awake. So,
How hot is it over there?
oh, yesterday 30 degrees. Right now it's 20 degrees. So you can't
What's
really
that?
sleep in the heat.
What's that in Fahrenheit?
I don't know. Mo, you can change the Fahrenheit. I just know by degrees. I don't know about the Fahrenheit, really.
Yeah. That's Celsius, ain't it?
Yeah. So how you
So
been?
what's your? I've been all right. What's your opinion of that video of the what I just put up there?
100%, definitely.
That's crazy,
Um,
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
It,
So
it
the whole subject of that is basically that, let's go say you have a group of people, they're playing Call of Duty or whatever, right? And then these people say maybe something a little crazy on there or whatever. They just got a little mad or something, and they just started cussing somebody out or something. Because of that, they're going to get deemed as a terrorist. You know? Isn't that crazy?
oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes. If not
But
already.
where does that stop? Like, because they could base a profile on a person on video games. They could base a profile on them on the style of music they listen to, on even like books they read or something. It's weird, but and they openly said that too, and they said that those companies that make the games are in cahoots with the government to do that, and Discord is, Reddit is, probably YouTube. I'm sure YouTube is. Um, you it's
Yeah.
well,
You
they
got
say Facebook's an open diary,
it is. Yeah.
basically.
I don't
Yeah,
use hardly any of that anymore. The only
yeah,
thing is Discord or Occasion here or
yeah,
and these apps which I've researched, all social
yeah,
media apps, the software companies are collecting the data. I mean,
yeah.
it's like I've been warning people forever, and then you got a certain generation age group. They
Hmm.
want the latest, gadgets to be distracted. But once you
Yeah,
understand the those that pick out and look at people's genetics and DNA from the youth. Like my son, when he was younger, he was good at computers. I picked up about games, doing virtual reality, designing things at 15, 16 years. And he is much older now, of course. But people
Yeah.
now are taking to Chat GPT, AI. You can create
Yeah.
videos with a picture and I mean
Well,
replacing human.
you can create an entire video with just I could write a script.
Mm,
I could I could clone my voice and I can write a script and I can make a video all off of that.
yeah,
But you can also make good content that way too.
yeah. How do you
You
know
can
what's
just
real on the internet anymore?
yeah. But so you can make good content, you can make bad content doing that also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And very
Uh
much so on that one.
yeah, I think both ways, like there can always be good and bad. I was listening to something and they were talking about like Terminator style thing with AI.
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
saying I think they were talking to an AI and they said if the Terminator situation happens, how do we stop it? They said you have to have a better AI that's on the human side. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Let me know my mic go slow. I'm getting a lot of hacking.
Yeah. So what is Mo saying right now? Says wants to talk since late, of course. What time is it for you right now? You're like 9 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, 3:30 a.m. In
Oh, okay.
England, still awake. But I've had a lot of interferences as usual. On my
Pretty
phone's overheating and all sorts.
well. I'll on my days off, if you're interested, I'll try to be at a more reasonable time and Mo talk to me about the time differences.
Yeah,
And
cool.
so like Monday, if you're interested, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I can be more reasonable. It's just like you have to go to work.
Yeah,
So
whatever works, yeah. I mean, I don't do much apart from listen to I like to listen to more certain Christian content and things and not go
yeah,
on social media as much because it's full of I call it snakes. Mo knows what I mean by that.
yeah.
You know, the times we're in now is very much, in my opinion, soul catching. I mean,
Hope
once you look at, yeah, oh,
I didn't want anybody to accidentally pop in on my screen. So,
you got the sound,
um,
that working.
you can continue.
Sound is gone. Let me chop out and come back in.
Yeah, just so hot inside.
Yeah, I'm back now. Is the sound okay your end?
Yeah, it's okay. I was just not trying to
Sound
have
your end?
no video. No, it wasn't sound, it was video.
Not
Yeah.
good?
Yeah,
Okay, hold
as
on.
good as they'll get. I think Alright, where is well, I can't really pause it right now. So
Well, man.
yeah, you're back in.
Okay, they're
So
hacking into the internet. Oh, yeah.
yeah. So Monday and Tuesday is a better day that's more coordinated for me and you.
Yeah.
Um and Mo was saying probably 2 or 3 are better time frames because, you know, if you're 9 hours ahead, that's more like I think what is that, like 6 or 7 over there?
Your time. Yeah. Well,
Uh,
my time. Yeah.
yeah,
I
your
think.
time is
Yeah.
two, yeah, two
Well,
or three. So if it's 2 or 3 here, and it's 6 or 7 over there, it's more it's better time
yeah.
frame, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the segments is like, what was the subject? Like, how did all this began with me, sort of thing, in England, and
Yeah,
segments kind of thing. Yeah, and then keep best thing to do is keep me on track on the points because there's a lot, quite detailed things, and how my mother was picked out as a child by the Mormons, you know, and who I linked to the Illuminati and Freemasonry and the occult, and how my brothers and sisters were also singled out as kids, and then we get older, and then they have kids, I have kids, and they're targeted in the program too. So the Monarch Butterfly Project really is what it is. Yeah.
yeah,
But it's like you don't find, I mean, I didn't find this out until my mother's passing, really, of the Monarch Butterfly, until I found out my brother, the eldest brother, is a handler. He's always been the handler in the family. And it gave me a brooch. Mum was passing with some other things of a necklace with a beautiful gold butterfly with all the colour stones on it of MK Ultra colours. And I didn't even notice that until a year or so later, and realised, remembering when I was moved up to the area when my mother went to Canada, and that I thought, well, hold on, how's he always been? My mother's relying on him for everything as she got older. And how come he went to London when I was only about 8 or 9 to try and claim it in college? And I found out years later it was neuristic programming he went on courses for. And then, of course, you know, things weren't really adding up because we had a childhood by the coast. And the good parts I remember, but the other side is blocked out. And then you wake up one day remembering a lot. And then obviously you do the research, you look it around, and then I found a website that linked up because I was always good at history. So I
yeah,
wanted to look, I was studying law really at the time. So I found a couple of websites, and one website particularly I found, which I always promote on my website or social media or YouTube channel, like, and it was like, who are the Illuminati? And then because I was raised in this occult, but the Mormons, when you realise, no disrespect for people that already members, they don't know lots of stuff like I do. How did I get involved in the entertainment industry, the modern industry, TV and radio, politically? as well. How did everything start happening the way it did? So it all is linked together. Nothing is separate. And how did I come where I am now on a big social media presence on a certain platform? Then I'm getting major attention in the sense of MI5, MI6. They
Yeah.
want to then shut me up. And then because I stumbled, like in the late 90s, what locally, what they're doing, I've got to be careful what I say, for young, certain age groups. And I witnessed, because one of the lads was best mate to my sons. And in those days, I didn't know how big the rabbit hole on that side goes. And from that, when I was in London and mixing all these well-known people and hanging out, had a like mother would have the kids, and I would have this like socialite kind of lifestyle in London, and it wasn't full time, obviously. So I had a mum life when I'm out that I had two lives going on at the same time. So obviously I was witnessing firsthand of these young women being signed up to agents for modelling, but yet these so-called agents weren't quite what you think they were. And then when I saw the darker side and what they really were doing, and then of course I got to know. Do you remember years ago the Krays, the gangsters of London?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
You might have heard of them. Well, I got to know certain people that were connected to them, and
Yeah.
it is only through these after show parties that when they've had a few to drink and that they let slip a few things, and it's not until like years later you suddenly have this, you're allowed to remember things. It's like you're in this kind of deep sleep in the mind, and then you wake up one day learning how this mind control technology has been going on
Mhm.
for, and how they've been able to read the brain since 1974. But I was a kid then, and it's like, well, how come a lot of people can wake up and know this information, and yet half the world is still in a slumber asleep? And then I stumbled across when I did on my shows on my channels. I stopped doing it for a while now, and then I'll get sent links about a certain non-human entities. I start researching about the website I found with Donald Marshall about cloning subject. Then I looked at these other non-human entities. I just have these situations where I stumble across how do I put it, people that don't come across as natural human
Yeah.
nature.
Well,
I have to be careful.
people act
Mm,
very different now.
mm. But the way they wanted to shut me up is because I came across a high known, well known players in the trafficking of young people.
Hmm.
I saw things that you shouldn't see in temples underground, well known temples, and I didn't participate in what they were doing, but I had to watch. So of
Hmm.
course the brain will create altars. Yeah, but I don't have altars, but they wanted to create that. But because I'm so strong-willed, it didn't work on me.
Wouldn't that
So
be
they
trying
just,
to create some type of trauma?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So the things I witnessed, nobody would be able to survive that. But I obviously still here. And because the key players who were organising all this are well-connected political people. Well, it's not just the Epstein cases in overseas. This is the high players in England. This is why I am the high target, who I am. And then, of course, when I got one over how it happened in 2009, at first I was set up with a serial killer in 2002. and he was, it's all over the news.
Hmm.
The girls, 3 girls that did not survive unalived in London. I was used as a witness, the only witness, because what he did to me, the only survivor, and they thought I wouldn't cope. The mind was split, and they didn't think I would cope with that. He was
Yeah.
very demonically possessed. I know all these years later that. I didn't know at the time. So all that time, it was like a movie script. My life is like a movie because it was absolutely orchestrated in such a way. Why me out of my brothers and sisters? I'm the only one. And it's
Yeah.
because I broke away from the Mormons. You're not meant to break away and still exist. You're meant to be controlled, and obviously my brother did his best when I moved up this way. When I first stayed with him, our mother went to Canada as a job and
Yeah.
tried to marry me off
Is
with
the
the mm,
is the Mormon Church large in England?
yes.
Okay.
Our family in Cornwall were the first members because the way the missionaries come knocking on my mother's door, she was very vulnerable herself and she went through things, and it wasn't until she was in her 40s that she started remembering things what happened to her as a child. So she was put on all these medications, and the only time I would see her is crying in the bedroom with a brown teddy bear. And it's ironic when she passed away, when I saw her in a room, my brother put a small brown teddy bear, exactly the same, but small version, upside down on the bed for me to see. That was meant to create some kind of reaction, but it didn't, because the whole set in that room, it did look like a movie set, just staged. But I just took discreet pictures, never
Yeah.
posted it anywhere.
Yeah.
And and then outside, the funeral, when it come to that, the care home where she was, it was all the red, the blue cars. My family members were, all of the family members were involved. The red, the blue, the black, and even if I said about the funeral hearse with the beaming of the lights and the staff at the care home, it literally sounds literally like a movie.
Yeah.
You can't quite talk about it openly because they want you to look like you're psychologically disturbed, like you've lost the plot.
Yeah. I say my life's like a movie, but it's more like an action movie. But I'd rather it be like a romantic comedy or something. It's like it
Yeah,
chose the wrong movie for me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
not
yeah.
one I agree with. So,
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, in those days, a long time ago, it's like when I had a certain look, like a Marilyn Monroe image at the time. And it's
yeah.
like, and of course, I was rebelling against this restriction of
Yeah.
this upbringing. So, of
Yeah.
course, I was very outgoing, liberal. Hence, I met all these people and got invited onto TV shows and meeting all these
Yeah.
well-known people and just being that pretty lady on the arm of a famous rich people,
Yeah.
and going on to the best places. And that's how I got the, telling me stuff in the ear kind of thing, and then inviting to these country manners, like Eyes Wide Shut. And so I didn't participate. I was just like, what the heck? And it's like, you know, can't speak about it, can you? Because they're connected. So, you want to keep your part-time modeling job and then keep your press card because I became a journalist eventually. It's just through everything's been through people connected
Yeah.
together, one thing after another, and
Yeah.
very accomplished in all areas very quickly. And then
Yeah.
it dawned on me that hold on, I know everything what I know now quite quickly. And what I'm seeing, because of the religious upbringing, I had to break away. I could not there's something that kicked in. By the time I was 42, I had to like break away. I still had all, you know, the limited contacts and everything. And I met somebody who was suggesting set up a website to expose
Yeah.
what I know. So I set up a website and I wanted to expose a key ring player in my area. So I did that, and then I got the first death threat. And it's like, don't take it down, you know, certain words were used. So, of
Yeah.
course, first time on the internet, first blog I did, and of course, I didn't know about data protection in those days, so I took it down. But that individual is still doing what he's doing, put it that way.
Yeah.
And on one of his
Well,
mates right next door.
usually when that does happen to you, you should take it seriously, but they're usually using it as fear tactics.
A lot of it come to extreme where they really want to send a message. So I'm
Yeah.
walking on the path, and this car comes out of nowhere, jumps curb at 2009 at the end of the year, broad daylight, 9 witnesses apparently, and the
Yeah.
back wheel of the car, of the actual wheel, runs over my left ankle, jumps a curb I'm standing on, not crossing in front of anything, and he runs over my foot. And next thing, I was sat backwards on the ground on the road, unconscious. And all the my reports I got eventually back was 9 witnesses, and police didn't do nothing. They covered up
Yeah.
for the driver. The
Hmm.
ambulance crew was great. And I remember a brown-headed lady. That's all I could remember seeing before I passed out. And I know I still remember it's like she was a guardian angel. I knew something, I just knew. And all I remember is waking up in hospital with my mother at the time and her church friends. And then one of the police guys comes straight to my bed with my mother there, saying I walked
Yeah.
in front of the car. I walked in front of the car, but the medical evidence said opposite. And the witness, the actual logs of the calls, 999 calls made by the 9 witnesses, said different. And I couldn't get no justice ever since.
Yeah.
And they covered it
999
up.
is 999's 911 over there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Emergency calls. And of
Yeah.
course, the cameras as well, pointing in that direction, conveniently pointed opposite. So my lawyers, the house insurance I had at the time, said I can't sue because the police report said you walked in front, but I did not. So I
Hmm.
did take on the police, but I didn't get nowhere. So now
Yeah.
I'm permanently in a wheelchair. So I'm permanently, you know, like head injuries and spine injuries because of it.
Did you got
And they,
nothing out? Did you get nothing out of it
no,
either? No.
no, no, they made sure of that. So, you know, they just wanted to make sure that I was silenced. Thought that if they make me physically unable to do what I used to do, oh, she'll just like, I mean, the transition from being fit, healthy, able-bodied and traveling to not
Yeah.
anymore.
It's the same idea as when you have the cars out there that are purposely trying to hit you,
Yeah,
or the ones that try to brake check you, like they'll slam on their brakes in front of you,
yeah.
because their intention is to hurt you.
Hmm.
Like I had a police officer that did that to me. Now, could you imagine what would happen if a police officer slammed on their brakes directly in front of you and then you slammed into their car?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I would be the one that got in trouble, right? If I fly through my
Yeah.
windshield and I hurt his car, well, I'm going to jail, right? And
Hmm.
I'm getting hurt. So that's the honest facts right there, and that's happened to me. So,
Well, it's
but
not
no, I
in a
have
way.
a lot of incidences where like they're like playing Frogger in front of me, where like I'm driving and they'll just run in front of my car, and it'd be not necessarily abnormal, if somebody does that, right? But let's
Yeah.
go say you're at a light, then the next light it happens, then the next light it happens. Let's look, that's where it becomes unnormal. It's not because somebody just started out in front of you. It's because one group of people darted out in front of you, right?
Oh
Then
yeah.
you have two guys carrying like a 16-foot board across the street. Like that doesn't even make sense. And then further down the road, you have a lady that's pushing a shopping cart in the right-hand lane. No, in the middle lane. She shouldn't even be in the lane, right? But you have a car, you swerve, and you slam on your brakes, and you're like, oh, well, I'm glad I didn't hit that person. You know, and that's a daily drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
It's like, I mean, they
that's why
do still try.
you have to be a defensive driver.
Mm, yeah, it's like when they should in the gun stalking, they're not meant to actually harm you. It's a psychological program,
Yeah,
tactics, fear mongering. But
for
to
the most
actually,
part.
mhm,
I
but
think
to
for the most,
actually, yeah. Well, they went literally over the top with my situation
yeah,
to try and silence me because I thought I wasn't going to survive the attempt of my life in 2002, the strangulation and
yeah,
attempted murder.
yeah,
So they thought, well, let's watch as she recovers of the trauma of that. But by 2009, whatever reason, I mean, I had my old house smashed up when I was all over the international media and telly and stuff as the only survivor of that case, murder case. Only
yeah,
witness in the Old Bailey in London. I witnessed the, sell your story for brown envelopes. Allegedly, the police saw witness, oh, if you want a story out of a witness or this murder case, here's a brown envelope. Do us a favour, and they passing money under the table in this pub opposite. I saw, and then I had all the media pack waiting for me outside to get my
mhm,
story, which I never told, you
yeah,
know. And then they claimed 'cause I was still a member of the union then in journalism, and I said
yeah,
to my representative lawyer, I said, "Well, you negotiate with these top editor," and it turns out Andy Coulson, ages ago after, became a press secretary for Tony Blair in England, the Prime
hmm,
Minister at the time. And I knew the dirt on Andy Coulson in his offices at News of the World. I was there, saw it all,
yeah,
because they wanted me to put me up in a hotel and try to do a story. But what I didn't know was they were going to set me up and imply that I was those ladies that died in London, what happened to them, the way it happened. They were sadly fallen ladies, if you know what I mean,
yeah,
in hard times. But I was never like that. I was
yeah.
very trained up in natural health. So how was I tied with that? And then of course it's only years later that you work this out. At the time you think, what the heck? So
Well,
it's like,
I think you don't ever think about any of this stuff until it's too late.
yeah, oh,
Because like let's go say that you recognize everything's happening to you, right? Unless
mm,
like you recognized it when you were young, right? But if
mm,
like for me, I didn't recognize any of my stuff until I was about 32. So, I just was going around my everyday life thinking that the stuff I was putting up with was normal
yeah,
until one day my brain clicked and I was all like, well, because it had so much stimuli on me that there was no way I couldn't see it. Because I think previously it was probably covert, but then it turned overt and it was just straight up in my face. I couldn't get away from it. And because I couldn't get away from it, I started researching it. I started kind of like when I said I got out of prison, and then I started going to those programs and everything. I started seeing all those people around me constantly, and they're popping up everywhere, and they're throwing up hand signs, and I was like, I was thinking, so what's going on? Why are all these people communicating using sign language, right? And they're around
Yeah.
me, and I'd have people like maybe my DOC officer or they'd be communicating with somebody around me through hand signs that they shouldn't even know that person, right? And then in these programs, they would do that. So it kind of brings back maybe a feeling similar to like being incarcerated, right? So
Oh my
because that's
gosh.
but
Yeah.
that's a way people communicate in prison is through sign language, right? So if somebody wants to talk to somebody on one side of the pod to the other, they use sign language. But so then I'm looking up gang signs, and that brings me to gang stalking, and then I get all of this other stuff like targeted individuals, workplace mobbing, and community harassment, crisis acting, all that different kind of stuff. And I went down the rabbit hole, but I didn't really know about any of this stuff until I was 31, 32 years old,
Wow.
and I'm gonna be 40 next month. But the point being is, so for the last 8 years, that's when I've known about all of this. But I've been going through this for way longer than that. I just was oblivious to it. Um,
Yeah. It's like, well, you go into the prison system and
oh,
they
it was
set you
it was
up.
hell. It was, yeah, yeah, definitely. It was hell. Like, imagine the idea of being gang stalked, but you're inside of a prison cell. And you know how like they do all this stuff to try to irritate you with loud noises, with people being space invaders towards you and stuff like that. Imagine
Yeah.
being in an 8 by 8 cell and your cellmate's doing it to you. And so like you're down on the bottom bunk and you got this guy on the upper bunk and he's punching the bunk like, and it sounds like his hands are made out of metal because he's hitting it so hard, and so you got a headache, and then there's somebody that pops out right next to the window next to your cell, and you're already in a state of paranoia because every single time you go out to the yard, they're all
Yeah.
swarming they're swarming around you like bees, and it's in such a heightened state of violence in the in the prison system, that every moment that you're in there, you consider your life is in danger when you're in prison. Everybody feels that way when they're in there. And unfortunately for me, I was celled up with people that had high violent charges. So I had, you know,
Um,
I had people that were in life sentences. I had people that were in there for major assaults, for all sorts of stuff that I was in there. So, I'm constantly watching my back while I'm in there. But I would say, yeah, probably more than less, the prison system set me up. So,
mm, it's like,
because,
it's, you remember Nappy Roots nickname on YouTube, wasn't it, a
nappy
while
head,
ago?
nappy
Yeah,
headed.
and what happened there.
Yeah,
And I don't know what the update, or he's still in prison or whatever. But it's like, and then you've got people I used to help with voice to skull technology. I got
yeah,
wind of, like, originally it was on Facebook, and then I used to try and help those two chaps, and one was set up by his own family. They were he's the one that sent me videos about certain images and of his family images, and I'm like,
yeah,
I knew what I was looking at. And it's like, and he got set up for moving to a new flat, and then
yeah,
he got set up by the public servants. And no matter what I did to try and help him, and on Discord, because I got him to get to join us on Discord, like, and he's still, his name's still there, but he just, I don't know, he's disappeared now.
Yeah, I haven't.
What were you saying about your interview? So I can't read my eyesight.
It
Oh,
says, what were you saying about your interview? Were you left off?
yeah. Which part? When I got run over. The sequence is. I think when the sequence when I got set up with the serial killer began, that, and then the after that, like, there's so much surrounding that, and the people I was directed to Tavistock Institute to get, because of the trauma apparently was so deep, the disassociation from that trauma. What's Mo asking? I can't read, it's too small.
It says talking about the guy that you're working for in the press, how they wanted to set you up about the 2 women that were murdered.
Yeah, with that guy, that was weird because when I met a guy in the late 90s, he was a Freemason, and well, how did I meet him? It's like I was looking for a father figure for my kids, right? So it's like just a friendship. So I had an ad in the paper, and in those days, the old-fashioned way. So I was looking for like a. I never really had that family unit, and my mother was always outcasting me with the family dues and things, being Mormons, because I didn't marry into that way. The women, my sister, or both sisters did. So she looked at me as outcast, and I
Mm,
wasn't. I was just living my life. So I made sure the kids had, things that they needed, and as they got teenagers. So when I met this guy, it was as a business type, and he taught me about how to do accountants, do his bookkeeping, that kind of thing.
yeah.
Then he was into Reiki, so
Mm,
he and a business friend of mine suggested I set up a business, and I got trained up in London, so I was going every other
mm.
weekend to train up as a Reiki master, well,
Is a
lady
Reiki
version.
healer.
Yeah. And then I
Yeah.
got my qualifications, and then he was the silent partner, and I met somebody else who was more like a grandfather figure as a friend,
Mm, yeah.
platonic friend, very wealthy, and he set up the finance for the business premises.
Mm,
But because my other friend I had was a well-travelled man, and he
yeah.
worked in computers. And how I met these people, I don't know, but you could write a bloody book, I tell you. But how I met him, he travelled the world, and he eventually found out was one of the 13 bloodline families, a descendant, and
Yeah.
and he would always go to all these places anyway. He helped me set the website up, and had a couple of pictures of me. I looked different then. Said I was Reiki. This is my business about to set up. I knew about
Mm,
accountants. I knew how. I had all the proper business cards. And then how did that serial killer find me? Where the hell did you get my details from? So I assumed it was off the website. And when he come up to me, went on the train from London to me, and I had everything security set up pretty well. And then of course I refused, you know what, and that's not what I was doing. And I had the
yeah.
spare rooms set up because the other business premises hadn't got finished yet, and because there's a lot more building work to be done. And because I refused, that's what he did. Won't go into it all. And he had the same outfit, the watch, the outfit, the UFO t-shirt, as he was in all the papers, television, the manhunt. What's the question?
Says the guy from 13 Bloodlines family, you say.
Yeah, now that was before that happened. So that was in 1990. 5 in 1996. I met him. How did I meet him? I was advertised in the paper also for, you know, get to know like potential boyfriends and potential partners. Because in those days, that's what there was, wasn't the internet really. And
No.
I met them, and I got to know him just platonically as a friend.
Yeah.
And he was a very, very loyal friend. And eventually, he took me and the kids out like for lunchtime, you know, for the pub lunch. And when he was in the country on business, he would fit in time. If it wasn't me and the kids, we and him and I would go on a couple of dates. Uh, Introduced me to the finer things of life, and then he divulged things to me, like who he's connected to. I mean, I could never repeat, you know, what family bloodline he's from, and
Yeah.
he would tell me he could never marry outside. I'd hoped he was the one because we got on that well. But then
Mm.
when I found out he could never marry outside that bloodline, and he had to keep everything in the family because extremely wealthy they were, and his
Oh.
connections in IT, IBM company, he travelled the world, yachts, clubs, Venice, balls. You like in the movies you hear, that was the guy I met. Is that the same question? Yeah,
No.
and that was that was the only decent bloke I've ever met that was potential, you know,
Mm.
proper decent and
Yeah.
and my type sort of thing. And then of course I still got the photos of me and him together. And we went to parts where the horses was, a lovely countryside, lovely summer times. And I really don't know if that's a connection, the beginning of it all. I don't know. I really don't know. Because there's been
Yeah.
so much after that. I met a really horrible man. He was Freemason.
Yeah. Says I think the red dragon line.
Mm, mm. Because it's a bit weird. Soon after that, I met someone who was a Mason, and he was a very horrible, violent man, and he
Mm.
was vicious. You don't want to ever experience domestic violence with your kids seeing things. And I had to get rid of him. I did. Then he came back and pleaded sorry, and we eventually got married in America. And we set up a business. But yeah, after that incident and where he was in America, and I had to divorce him, but he began stalking me.
You hear my
And
my noise campaign out there?
pardon, you got it
So
now.
do you hear that?
Yeah, they're loud voices, aren't they?
Now it's music, and then there's airplane.
Um, it's difficult on my phone because it's always distorting the noise and acting into my
Well,
internet.
I think they just did that to disturb the peace. So, they
What
want
we're
to interrupt.
talking about, so I hear on.
Oh,
Yeah,
and there's more music. Yeah, to disturb what we're talking
isn't it
about.
the
Yeah.
way?
Well,
Isn't it just?
isn't it? But you know what's kind of funny about that? Think about this. You're obviously talking about legitimate, sensitive information because they don't want you to talk about it. Because they wouldn't be having an airplane going over me, a car with a very loud subwoofer, and neighbors playing music all at the same time. And you know, you could have three things happening, but the three things happening all at the same time, and it sets the dogs off too, or in the neighborhood. So,
Do you know what I
and
mean?
yeah,
You're in
now it's
America, and I'm all the way over here.
yeah, I
I'm
know
in
it's
Boston.
not.
The flats around here, they're all rented out to the gaslighters.
Well,
They are all,
if you ever watch some other people's videos, right? And they aren't even on this subject, right? They could be on a completely different type of subject, but they are harassed like we are. They will do stuff like they'll be in an apartment and the police will have sirens going off all the time by them, or they'll have cars honking constantly. And they might know what gang stalking is, but they don't necessarily talk about it, but yet they still are affected by it, right? And so it's just a weird thing, just like that they're coordinating these things just to disturb what
yes,
you're talking about right now, because what you have to say is very important. And that's why they want to be so loud, because they want to silence it, which I'm not going to allow that. But I'm just, I guess I'm trying to put that reference in so to make sure that what you have to say matters. So,
thank you, yeah. Because I mean, look, it's like anything, anybody can say anything. And
yeah.
it's like, I can't even go on social media and talk, the real facts and warn people what's really behind everything going on. Because I got first-hand evidence of it. And
Well,
I got the,
you also think that if you say stuff and warn people about what you're saying, they're just going to erase your comments to them anyways.
yeah, discredit me, put honeypot. I had a honeypot in Omo for since last October. He
Yeah.
was all played me narcissist. If it wasn't for me and somebody else sending me information about narcissism and how it links, and I would most probably fall for that BS. But luckily, I managed to get away. What was that?
Mo's asking if you could finish where
Oh,
you
that's
left
all.
off.
Yeah. So I got rid of that. Well, when I married that guy in America, and we got home, got a divorce. It took me 2 years, and then I met somebody else who was also a violent man, a builder, and at night he would pick my windows of the putty and climb through a small downstairs window, and I find him outside my bed. And I'd all weird stuff like that, and had to get restraining orders and all sorts. So that was that
Oh,
period up to the late 90s, and then
he's he's out of your life though.
yeah, that's long. That I had to make sure the kids got karate lessons, self defense, and I took my own, and I started meeting decent couple of people
That's good.
that were streetwise, so they watched my back. Then I got a job in a part time in a bar, so I
Hmm.
got to know people who knew the area, so they were looking out for me a bit. They were okay. They're just like party people. I wasn't really into that, and I just focused on the kids, really, making sure they got what they needed, and they were
Yeah.
streetwise. And so I suppose after that is where I started learning Reiki, traveling to London,
Yeah.
and occasionally take the kids when they're not in school, so they'd be cultured, learn about real life,
You're
the way,
you're
traveling.
when you learned Reiki, um, were people trying to encourage you to get Reiki healing, or was it encouragement for them? Somebody's trying to put it in your ear to become the healer.
Well, that ex
Yeah.
husband, he was more into adult ladies, if
Oh,
you know what I mean. And there
oh,
was no way, because I always had morals anyway, because I was raised that way, if you know what I mean. So, you just don't do things out of wedlock kind of thing. And so there was no way I was going to get involved what I found out about this guy that I married, his secret life with the ladies, if you know what I mean. So this is why I wanted to train up properly and get I was always into natural health, and
oh, okay.
I found out years later my bloodline is natural healers. I used to call them white witches. So we
Yeah,
always been had certain
yeah,
abilities.
or
Mm,
like, what was I don't even know why light workers, um, like healers.
yeah, well, I
The
always seem
reason
to be good.
the reason I was
Yeah.
asking you about that, because obviously you talked about it, but I got introduced into Reiki about 8 years ago when they put me into all those programs. They
Okay.
introduced me to they introduced me to it when I was in the programs in the beginning. They also introduced me. I was started meditation prior to that, but they were programming me into meditation. They were programming me to, I guess, not necessarily learn Reiki, but to become, I guess, to go through the healing. The person who put me through my healing initially says that they believe they uh, put my chakras out of it, imbalanced, like screwed my
Yeah,
chakras up. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think the craziest thing during Reiki healing that I ever had was I was laying down on the bed and she was doing the healing on me, right? And then she wound up, she started from my root chakra, she went up to my sacral chakra, up, up to my heart chakra, and then eventually to my throat chakra, to my crown chakra. And she got me in a really good meditative trance, right? And it gave me a vision of like Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Like in Terminator when you got all the robots that are dead and all the dead people and everything.
Yeah.
That's the vision it gave me of like a World War III.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
but so they also introduced me into acupuncture at the time.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
yes. Mm.
Yeah. So I did all
I
that.
didn't do that because of the needles. I hated needles.
I don't like them
So,
either, but they just did it in
mm,
my ear. And
mhm.
but then also there was one day the guy that was an acupuncturist, and I never really, but he like jabbed it in there hard, and it was always nice and gentle every time before, but like he jabbed it in my ear like he was mad at me, and like it just, I'm not saying it screwed me up permanently, but it had me, but they're dealing with your nerve endings and stuff,
Mm.
Oh, but yeah, they introduced me to all those things through my program.
I
So I was
focused
just,
on more to do with the head, the Indian head massage, the temples around the neck and the ears, the
yeah,
face, the arms, the hands, and learning about the on the feet and the hands, because you can do it to babies as well if you know what you're doing. But it's I had a natural ability just to with the music and the candles, the insect
yeah,
sticks. I mean, everything was just like,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
like
very
what,
good at what I had natural
like,
ability to do.
yeah, like maybe having some white candles and some crystals and some
That's it.
meditative.
Crystals, especially crystal healing. I use stones as well. I was taught how to use the stones and which type of crystals, and yeah, it was a unisex business, but it didn't take off because of that first client come on the train, and
Probably because they knew it would have benefited. Like you probably would have done well.
mm,
I, I
yeah,
bet you, I bet you probably could have had a lot of clients, and you
mm,
probably would have had a pretty good business of your own.
mm, yeah, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? Because I mean, I was
Yeah,
running a model agency, for children and their parents. It literally
Well,
only lasted about 6 months before that date as well.
it's no different than if like you work at a company and you are qualified all the way around the board, right?
Mm,
And they keep you throttled at a low position because they're trying to keep you stuck stagnant, you know? And
yes.
they know that you're high qualified and you're capable of doing all sorts of like stuff that benefit them. And there maybe you have certifications that other people you work with don't have, right? Now others might, but they don't all have that. They're not as good in particular skills that you have, right? But
Mm,
they don't want to allow you to level up because they want to
that's
keep you they want to keep you or I'm really talking about me but what I'm saying but what I'm
yeah,
so I'm
yeah.
talking about me but so at the end of the day like I'm a certified welder, right? But why in the world, I'm not going to say exactly what my job title is, but why do I do that? Why do I not get paid properly as if I'm a welder? And why are there people that I'm not going to go through all the details, but I am just as qualified, if not more.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so the question is, why am I being stuck stagnant? So the answer is it's being done intentionally. And so imagine, let's go say that we were talking about the shirt stuff, right? Making shirts the other day, or maybe you, I don't know, you might have not been on that one, were you, when I was talking about, I think I was talking to Henry. I don't know if you were on that, but we're talking about like silk screening, and then I was showing like they have a printer that makes shirts, right? Well, imagine if I want
Yeah.
to do that. If I want to do that as a side hustle, like you see this background I got back here, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can make I can make some pretty cool pictures, right? So if I could put these different kinds of pictures of these backgrounds that I make, right, and I put them on shirts and I buy a shirt for $1 a piece on a pallet, I could make a lot of money doing that, right? Well,
Yeah.
imagine if I did set up a business like that, right? And then they would find a way to sabotage it. So we talked about Michael Barden before. He had a hat business that he sold. He
I
sold
saw that.
yeah, so he sold hats, right? But so when he sold hats, they were messing with all of his like FedEx pickups,
All this, yes.
his post, all of that, because they see you have a good business, right? And you would
Yeah.
flourish off of it, but they don't want you to have that little easy job, right? The one that you enjoy doing. They want to put you in this job where it's tough or you feel like you hate the job or something like that. They just always want to keep you at a point where you never feel good enough. And if they can, they want to make it to where a person, if they could, they would like to make it to where I couldn't have it, you know. I've been trying the
Yes.
hardest. For the last 8 years, they've tried to get me fired everywhere, you know. And I just keep getting these obstacles put in front of me,
Yeah.
and I just keep overcoming them. That's the
Uh,
only thing I can
well,
say on
this is it. Do you find that? It's like no matter what they do, you find a way eventually through it. It's
that.
like
Yeah,
2018, I didn't think I was going to come through everything that's being thrown at me at once. It's like earlier, yesterday, I had them deliberately, I had the right PIN number for my bank card, put it in the ATM, no problem, because I'm getting all these really hot phones, the ones and everything. And I already bought new phone needs not working, spending more
yeah,
money at new phone needs. Luckily, I had cash on me to pay for it, and yet the cash contactless payment worked fine. As soon as I
yeah,
put my PIN number in, 3 times declined, declined, declined. And
yeah.
eventually went up to another cash point, put the correct PIN number in, and it took my card. Now
Oh,
that is deliberate.
do you ever go to the grocery store and like it'll say declined, right?
Mm.
And then like they'll do it like 3 times or 4 times, right? And then on the 5th time it works. And then
Mm.
you keep going into the grocery store and they keep doing that. Like for me, I'll say that's obviously an operator error. They'll say no,
Yeah,
it's your card.
yeah.
I'll say you have control on that cash register. You
Right.
know.
It's like
Um.
because I can't do as much like that anymore. If it's a try to order online, I have the
Oh.
gaslighting
Oh.
for
Okay.
delivery. I mean,
Online.
they know exactly what I'm doing because they're controlling all the
Yeah.
transactions on the internet.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just sort of pour in all the same stuff and hope for the best it's not poisoned, you know. But
Yeah. Oh.
but
You see, and that's
yes,
why I won't do that.
it's just
That's why.
like when I look at it this way. Okay, so I didn't buy the phone, it saved me money. I didn't take the cash out of the bank, it stays in it. So in a way, it's done me a favour. I look at it in that way.
Yeah.
I could have turned it into like, oh, you know, they want you to be negative and downbeat all the time. And I thought,
Yeah.
no. Right. And as I said that, no terrible lie, I'm seeing white feathers everywhere. I
Yeah.
know I've got a brother angel around me because I know I'm being watched
Yeah.
over. And it's only taken me a while to realise that though, because everything you go through, you think, you know, and after all that BS of that bloke on this on that other platform and trying to
Yeah.
put me down at the time psychologically and
Yeah.
manipulation and because thank goodness I've been learning about that quickly. I you know, you have to know your self worth, don't you?
Well, you
Everything
do.
you go through.
Well, all right. So you got a lot of people out here that are trying to tell people, if you're a targeted individual or you're a victim of gang stalking, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. It allowed me to be able to get to know myself. And I hear
Mm,
that message and I understand that message because we need to love ourselves, right? You can't love anyone else until you love yourself, right? So
yeah.
that does make sense. But there's a big difference between being able to be with yourself and accepting yourself
Yes.
and being
Yes.
alone. There's a
Oh,
big
that
difference.
is yes, yes. The isolation.
Yeah.
This is
For-
where it is difficult. Where they wanna, you know. I mean, in hot weather, no way. But because they make it so impossible to exist by not repairing things in my home and my things I need to
Well,
rely on.
and then the other stuff they do with like your internet or whatever. So like let's go
Um,
say you're on YouTube watching videos and then they'll pop up advertisements about hobbies or advertisements about like just everything that a counselor would tell a person that's going through depression or going through isolation or going through some type of systemic ostracization, but at the end of the day, just because those are things you tell people doesn't mean that they should apply necessarily for the rest of your life because
no, that's right. Mm,
you know like I would say for me, I have gone through isolation for the last 8 years, but for the last 4 years, my isolation is almost to the same extent it was when I was in prison.
yeah, you see that the um, if you're not well, everyone's different, but if you're not used to your own company, you adapt to it. What was the
Yeah.
so what's the wording?
Um,
If you
you,
continue, yeah, where with yeah, okay. So go back to my where was I? So yeah, met that rich guy. Then the other two guys, and yeah, the biggest part in my life, I think, was being set up with the Old Bailey. What I saw with the murder squad, the police. all of that was a major turning point, I think. And then when they smashed up my old house, I mean, this was like, by that time the kids moved off, you know, they're adults, they got their own places and their own
Yeah.
jobs and stuff. So it's just me and my cats and in a big house, and after that court case, and it's like I was set up with lawyers in Manchester, barristers, thinking that there could be a public inquiry. Why was a guy let out? He was in a mental hospital at the time, apparently, on a day release. How did that happen? Why did you get in the train? All these answers, all these questions. And then, but yet in his flat, the police found demonic material,
Hmm.
very demonic, like devil worshipping and
Huh.
serious things I can't mention here. And apparently he had a whole history of violence to women and
Huh.
to his ex-wife. And I did have a lucky escape, apparently. They said the way the girls were unalived is exactly what happened to me. But
Hmm.
it was a miracle that I survived that attempt, they said. And they've never known anybody to survive. So of course I only saw
Yeah.
there's a documentary, the one I participated incognito in the documentary, but you hardly heard anything from me. They wouldn't charge him for what they did to me. They wanted to get me on the murder, 3 charges, the maximum. The only solace I had was meeting one of the dead victims' family member, their mother, with the lawyers and barristers up north of Manchester. And I thought it's a bit weird. The guy I met in the past few months was from Manchester.
What was the first last name you said?
Manchester
No, the one
town.
before that.
Mm, sorry, my brain just gone. I can't remember.
That's all right. Just sounded very familiar.
It was sorry. What was I saying last? Because there's so much I've got to try and remember. They like to do more neuromonitoring on me to make me forget quite a lot. But I say it in like parts and memory and sequence events, because when I survived that, the way what that guy did to me, but I was close, and they don't know how I survived because the other woman didn't, and he did exactly the same to them, but they're not alive. And when I met the dead victim's family member, the mother, with the lawyers and the barristers to see if we could sue the NHS in London, the trust where they should have kept him in hospital, and they released them when they shouldn't have released them. On day
Hmm.
release, that's when he came to see me. Um, there's a public inquiry, a press public inquiry, and at that public inquiry, it's a whitewash, and everybody
Hmm.
was like blaming each other. And all the press was there. My son offered to come to with me to that press inquiry. No mention
Yeah.
about survivors. So I went in front of the press with my son.
Hmm.
I said, "Well, I'm the only survivor. You didn't know that, did you?" I said to the press. And after that, it was like I didn't realise. I was just thinking angry, no justice, and
Yeah.
no charges, because I just felt used by the whole bloody system for some reason. And
Yeah.
obviously, I know more now, obviously, why. But at the time, it's like soon after that, I had my old house. Where I was on my own at Charlotte at night. 3 blokes masked up with
Hmm.
something in their arm, like can't say the keywords in England. They don't like to say certain things, but it's like smashed a five. It was a thick glass door, a main door of my old house. And smashed it right through. Tried to
Yeah.
run through to get up to me to try and attack me. So
Hmm.
I'm ringing up the emergency police, like they are literally one unaliving me, trying to kill me, and
Yeah.
threatening with certain weapons. and I got witnesses, the ex-neighbours opposite. Late at night, again, no cameras conveniently watching. And then, of
Yeah.
course, the police come straight round. But after that, I had to move for my safety. They said I can't live where I was. All those
Mm.
years I lived in that house. And I had to move in a very one small room, emergency accommodation, ended up
Yeah.
here. And shock, when I moved here, guess who was next door to me? A well-known individual connected to what they do to children.
Mm.
Ever
It's
since
horrible.
that, he's been behind with his connections nationally and locally to make sure my life is living hell here
Yeah.
and always. And then the recruiting of the neighbours, then the planting, the fake neighbours, right in the block of flats where I live, right opposite. And then the extreme recently was the fake alleged death of a neighbour. The way it happened, I got recordings of all this.
Mm.
And it just sounds like far-fetched, doesn't it? It's just like, why the hell would they go to such an extent just for me? And then,
I've seen a lot of weird things. Like, there's an apartment complex I was familiar with, and they were. Have you ever watched the Joker movie?
yeah,
And so there's this guy in the neighborhood, and he was going around, and he was laughing like Joaquin Phoenix from the Joker. And so he was going around acting all crazy, and then they had this group of people that would sit in a parking lot, and they were going after guys that apparently looked similar to that guy, right? So apparently he got in an argument with some kids or something. I don't think that ever happened. But so they confronted this one man, and they threatened him or whatever, and he got out of the neighborhood. And then he, maybe like 2 or 3 days later, I pulled into a parking lot, and I had this guy with a baseball bat come up to me, him and his girlfriend. The female, it wasn't even a guy, it was the female, came up to me and started threatening me and accused me of being this guy. And that was laughing in the neighborhood all crazy and profusely. And I got a little irate with the person because I just pulled into a parking lot, into a parking spot, and I don't know what you're talking about, you know? And so I got into a little altercation with the person, and then I went into the apartment. Went in there for a little bit. Then I came back outside and talked to the person. And they said, "Oh, we apologize to you," right? And then that was done and over with, whatever, right? So like 2 days later, I see lights, just all these red and blue lights outside. And those same people that went after this innocent guy went after me, and then they finally got the guy that they were accusing, right? And he gets hauled off in the back of a police car and never to be seen again. I've never seen him after that point. But so what I'm trying to say is like what you're saying, these stories, these ones that you just can't believe make any sense. They ha-
yes,
they happen. My story that I'm talking about is a lot different than the one you're talking about, but it's still a story where it's like, for one, I don't believe the guy did it. For two, the whole entire story was just insane. And for three, I only think the story was meant for me. So I could,
yes,
you know,
yes,
and so like your story you're talking about for you, that was meant for you to see. It was for
yes,
it was meant for your eyes only, you know?
yeah,
And so that
yeah,
that's why I'm just giving you a relatable story that has nothing to do with one another, but it's the same concept, you know.
yeah.
Um,
A good point, yeah.
whenever you go
Actually,
out in the when you go into public, do you just like have like people that just don't make sense sometimes?
yeah,
Like
all the time.
I went to well, I go to the grocery store every day, but I went to the grocery store 2 days ago, right? And no, this was yesterday, not 2 days ago. And so this guy's in front of me, and he has two items in his hand. And I'm looking at the two items. One item is one of like those big dog bones, right? And it's in like his left hand. And then he has a half gallon of vodka. And I'm just contemplating, I want to talk to this guy, right? I didn't say nothing to him, but I was getting ready. Are you trying to get your dog drunk or something? You know, so that's what I was just gonna crack a joke or whatever. But it's like, who goes into a grocery store and only buys vodka and a dog bone? It's just like the two. It's
Yeah.
like, would you go and buy
Mhm.
a container of? Would you buy a container of strawberries and bleach? And those are the only two items you get. Like,
Oh
you know?
no.
And so then
Oh.
that's an example of like, the surveillance that they have in there. They go into the stores, they go in there with you, they follow you in there, they're already in there, but they really didn't have any purpose of being in there, but they need to be
No.
near you. So they have to
Yeah.
have some kind of reason they have an item. But like you don't buy
My
a
theory on that, it's more than gang stalking, because I've been researching into this spiritual element too, and
yeah.
I call it, and I'm fully aware of. I've seen with my own eyes non-human entities. Since 2018, I can see right through the eyes of people's souls, and don't ask me how I've been able to do that.
Well then
And then
you can see a good one of mine. So,
you got them up here. I can't see, it's just for screen. But if it's a bit different time zone, I better focus into your eyes a bit more. And you're a reptilian, no, I'm joking. But
no,
no,
not really.
seriously, there are entities out that I've seen, first-hand offspring as well. And then when they get possessed with the drink or drugs or whatever, you can see it more. And it's
Well,
like they're more
I think
scared
it's
of me
like
than I am them.
I think when you're going on that reference, whether it's you're talking about like reptilians or shapeshifters or uh, the skinwalkers or whatever, but if you're going to go into that kind of category, I think if you're referencing it that way, it's probably because whatever that substance is allows that entity to take their body over.
That's right. Absolutely 100%
Yeah,
correct
and
on that one.
that's why it's best to be sober.
Definitely.
Um, Definitely, because you don't want to be like, oh yeah, it's just taken over by an evil entity. No, no.
Yes. They don't call it spirits or nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh, and another event I had the other day. So, like I said, I go to the grocery store every day because but so I'm up in line, and then this is another one of these scenes, right? So this guy, he has a shopping cart, and it's completely full of cleaning products. It's like got paper towels and Lysol and all that different kinds of stuff, right? And so he comes up to the cashier and he's got like $400 in his hands, right? And then there's this lady that's like from the cashier to the door, and she comes running up and she goes and grabs his $100 bill and she puts it in the air like that. She's like, "This isn't real." And the guy at the whole time, he's got like a little earpiece in his, like little white earbud in his ear, and he's just beat bopping and he's got a comb and he's combing his hair and like he's just all happy, nonchalant. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I know this is just like a little scripted scene. They want me to see you're not allowed to give fraudulent money to the store. Well, I have real money. I don't have monopoly money. I have real money. But so he leave. Well, he says, "Can you give me my money back?" She gave him his money back, right? So typically, if they really had somebody go into a store giving them fake $100 bills, they would they'd probably call the cops at least. I
yeah.
would imagine. But no, they didn't do that. They let him walk out of the store. And then so he walks out of the store. And the other person, she says, well, he had an ankle bracelet on. That's why I knew. Right. So then,
Ah, mm,
but then, so that was her excuse as to why she was suspicious of the guy, right? Which is profiling. But so at the end of the, you can't just say somebody has an ankle bracelet. We're going to follow them around the store, and
yeah,
then we're going
yeah,
to
yeah.
accuse them of fraudulent money, right? But then I saw the guy. The guy was in front of me for like 3 or 5 minutes or something, right? Because of the whole ordeal. He was wearing shorts. He didn't have an ankle bracelet on. So the whole thing was a lie, you know? But these are the scripted scenarios that we deal with. Why don't you separate videos of these experiences? Well, uh, yeah, I was kind of almost thinking I was Mo. I was thinking about maybe in the future I'll make some videos about some of the weird events that I come across in my everyday life through this. And so yeah, maybe at some point I'll make a video about these separate events.
Yeah,
I wanted to make a video this morning. I was so tempted to. And the only reason I didn't was because I was at work. And I wanted to make a video because I was at work, I was in the parking lot, and I saw these high beams way far down on the side of the road.
oh, right.
And I wanted to make a video, and I was gonna make a video on being harassed, right?
That'd be
And
good.
and so I walked away from where I was. The car came up across right next to the fence, and it was a Pierce County Sheriff car.
I
And
get that all the time.
no, no, it's a normal thing. But what I was
So,
trying to say,
no,
I
okay.
wanted to do that just to because then I could have been like, "Yep, see, I told you I was being harassed."
Yes.
Yeah.
I've got so many videos and photos I can't even put up because it's so my storage is full of all that.
Oh
And
yeah.
I ignore it because I know they're trying to sensitize and psychological tactics. And it's like they will slow down for me to cross the road. I mean, it's just like constant now. And it's just like whatever, you stupid demons, go away. And then it's like the other day, where was I? I was still looking for these leads earlier, a couple of days ago, I think. And I got 10 people in the shop. What, they're all buying just little backpacks or, or something simple. What, 10 all at once? And I'm just, no, I knew what was going on. And, or there'd be e-scooters on the path in my way, blocking it all. Oh, it's just like a constant things going on. It's like, okay, this is a demonic. I look at it this way: it's demonic times we're living in. The bigger picture of it all. And it's like I been researching on genetics, DNA. Were we chosen from birth? My family looked into ancestry. So my who we really from. So I've always had a passion for history. So I thought,
Hmm.
well, I can't just focus on the past. All this has happened, yet it's happened. I'm still here. I'm still here
Hmm.
for a reason. We're all still here for a
Yeah.
reason. And people like us, there are going to be people out there that don't know nothing about this program that are going to turn to us and think, you were right after all. We thought we were making it up. Target individuals been shouting from the rooftops for so long, haven't we? To say that this technology and this scan stalking and the effects of onto the human body, the brain. I know now as much as I can and boil it all back down to which I worked out from my background in the cult, what they do to the kids, seeing what they do, seeing what they wanted me to see, seeing how I got out of it, and seeing how I've got being stalked by my own bloody family as well on top. Seeing how it's always linked back to the bloody Freemasons. and the Illuminati connection. But now I know it's the Covenants. You know, you can have houses, not just temples, not just underground bases. And I
Yeah.
worked out, because when I met ex-military people as well, you know, it's like I'm now being given that insight of like the end game for humanity is transhumanism. They want our brains and the technology. If I go into any kind of social media live, if I talk about this, it's like, oh, she's just lost the plot. But sooner or later, their kids, their grandkids, you know, I mean, it's not just about wars in the Middle East and everything else and voting Trump, this, that, and the other. None of all that matters. None of it matters. Because
Well,
at the end
no.
of the day, we're all being distracted for a massive reason, like you just quoted earlier about the games and the technology with that. And the
Well, that's
jiu-jitsu programming.
well, and like so going back into the beginning of the video, the whole video game thing, that's just another excuse to put someone on the list.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But this
Yeah.
guy claimed
So
he can hack this. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna have to cut this short. So
Yeah,
would
been
you
here for a while.
would you be interested what day would you be interested in coming on so I can
Yeah, Monday I gotta sort my banking out. It's gonna be an interesting one. So, Tuesday onwards will be better. Just
okay.
if you Discord, know will liaise. Hopefully, I know with me we could sort out the schedule with your work. And
Would
so
you be would you be interested if Mo gave you my Discord?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because I enjoy talking to Mo, but it's a lot easier if we can just directly communicate with each other about just whether you have time to come on to the program, or if you
Yeah,
want me to come on,
fine.
or if you ever want me to come onto your program,
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I'm more than willing
Thank
to.
you for that. Thank
Yeah,
you. That'd be really great.
yeah.
Yeah,
And but I have to be at work in the morning. That's why I'm gonna cut the video
exactly.
short.
I need to get
Yeah,
some sleep.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, my eyes, much
I can't I can't run off of 2 hours of sleep anymore.
no,
So
no, it's dangerous, definitely.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
you got what else going on. But thank you very
yeah.
much for inviting me up.
And I appreciate you coming on here. And I think you have a great story to tell. I think it's a horrible scenario you had to go through, but you really have your information about what happened to you, and you have a story that needs to be heard.
Thank you.
So
Appreciate your time to air it out. Yeah, and the way you're
yeah,
doing it.
yeah,
Thank you, Mo, as well. I'll message you when I wake up.
yeah,
But for now, I'm gonna drop
yeah.
down and get to sleep.
Okay,
As always, it's been lovely talking to you. Take care
yeah.
now. Bye.
All right. Have a good night or morning. And thank you, Mo, for helping coordinate this video tonight. And thank you for being my moderator since I started the channel. Um, and for anyone else who's watching the program, have a good night. Yeah, yeah, right. I was kind of almost figure some of my crazy events could be a stand-up thing. Um, kind of like when I was talking about the guy holding the dog bone and the vodka. But have a good night. everybody, and thank you for watching the programming tonight. And thank you, Spirit, for coming on, and thank you very much, everybody who's been on the channel, and I greatly appreciate you, Mo. Thank you. I'll work towards that goal. I think it's a good idea. Have a good night, Mo. And if you want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on Discord.